Hello, I'm Neil, writer, GM, etc. This is part 3 in a series on adapting the Wild Beyond the Witchlight for the PCs at your table. I'm going to focus on finding seamless little places for prismatic flashes, designing flashes from the present, and using all of this work to craft hag bargains that carry weight for your players. Obligatory spoiler warnings, the series is for current and future DMs, not players. I am also assuming you have at least skimmed the written adventure, and the deeper we go, the more specific I'm gonna be. We're building the upper floors of this tower, so if you haven't watched the previous 2 videos on laying the foundation, I would start there. My other disclaimer is that if you have made it this far in the guide, then you have probably detected that my primary concern in this adaptation is character and crafting little encounters to deepen roleplay. There are many other ways that character-driven gameplay emerges in a typical D&D session, so this framework is kind of front-loaded, like a scaffolding that's designed to fall away as PCs take the reins of their own storytelling. Picking up where we left off, we are looking at Chapter 1, the Witchlight Carnival. We've got an idea now of how to build past-facing prismatic flashes drawn from your PC's backstories, and now we just need to place them in the adventure as soon as possible in a way that doesn't derail the carnival or take the party wildly off mission. So, we turn our attention to the Mystery Mine. As written, the mine is already a brief plunge through fears from the character's past, so let's just build on that idea and turn the mine into a mini dungeon. The benefit of isolating your first prismatic flashes within this ride is that no matter what happens, it's not going to disrupt the mood of the carnival, it's not going to threaten other patrons, it's not going to rock the world of the tone that's so lovely in the rest of the thing. Although success or failure in the dungeon can obviously move the needle of the Witchlight vein if that suits you. First, let's replace the ride's description to set up the dungeon. Something to the effect of, as you approach the Mystery Mine, disappointed carnival goers are turned away as a male dwarf dressed like a wizard fastens a sign to the entrance, temporarily closed for repairs. You can see worry in his eyes. If the players inquire with the ride operator, he just tells them that there is a disturbance in the ride. It's meant to give people a little fright, not make them run screaming in terror. Can the party help? If the players are inclined to walk right past the ride, just have the operator see their adventuring gear and beckon them over urgently, begging for assistance. The dungeon layout is dirt simple. Characters walk past the stationary mine carts into a loop that terminates at the ride's exit. There are as many rooms as there are characters in your party. A thick Prismarian mist isolates each room and each prismatic flash from each other. To attribute this disturbance to something, I chose to have Skabatha's detached voice flit in and out, kind of poking at the character's flaws or formative traumas, playing with them like little dolls. If the party successfully clears the mine of Skabatha's illusory incursions, the ride operator lets Witch and Light know. This can be a trigger that gets them an audience, or just like a big uptick in the carnival's mood. If the party fails to clear the mine or is TPK'd, they awake to the operator and some Witchlight hands dragging them out of the mine exit. Grateful for their attempt to help, but clearly disappointed that they have to shutter the ride for the rest of the night. If the players miss or skip the Mystery Mine, the funhouse mirrors in the Hall of Illusions are also extremely on theme and could potentially operate as portals to little one-room illusory encounters with prismatic flashes. Okay, Zybilna sidebar. The mannequin of Tasha outside of the Hall of Illusions is a rare, small opportunity to organically seed the mythology that supports the big twist. But if you underscore her chicken foot tattoo as like an identifier, which is very useful in a shorthand of that is Tasha, just consider hiding or omitting that Zybilna has an identical tattoo until you feel absolutely ready to connect those dots for the players. Ideally, we want the players to make the connection after you have done some character building of Tasha. When my NPCs described Zybilna, they'd only reference a beauty mark under her eye or just like forget to mention it entirely. Now, onward to Chapter 2, Hither, Domain of Bavlorna, Hag of the present. The model for prismatic flashes of the present already exists in the written adventure. It is the stream of visions, a magical liquid scrying mirror that runs downstream from Bavlorna's cottage. Let's combine that idea with the other major ecological feature of Hither, the swamp tides. In our adaptation, the threat of rising swamp tide is that it overflows the stream of visions, literally flooding the PCs with prismatic flashes from the present. As the swamp tides rise, we reintroduce the prismatic flash device, building on how we introduced the past-facing flashes in Chapter 1. The narration once again taps our thematic concern, the passage of time. As swamp water seeps into your clothes, a thick mist congeals around you, carrying the fetid, wet stench of bog. A single tick of a clock sounds, then echoes, as if traveling further and further away. You feel your gaze pulled down to your own reflection, where shifting under the surface you see an image, not of the sky above, but of somewhere else, happening at this very moment in time. A prismatic flash from the present differs from past or future in one major regard. These encounters are not illusory. This is an opportunity to momentarily scry across planes and locations without having to abandon the Feywild. Even though these encounters can be interactive, keep in mind that the character's actions will affect the present, so you can always just pull the ripcord, have the instability of Prismeer mist over a scene abruptly, leaving characters back in Hither, sopping wet, but with new secrets and clues. In my game, I leaned toward playing these as cutscenes, overhearing a vengeful queen demand that her ex-lover, our PC who is a noble, be found at all costs. Plunging the party into a violent battle between fiendish factions on a plane of hell, one side of which is chanting the name of a lost god only your cleric has heard of. The coronation of a seemingly benevolent new lord, who just happens to be your bard's criminal arch-nemesis. You could even flash to the Palace of Heart's Desire, where an agent of your wizard's rival faction is getting time frozen at this very moment. In my last video's example case, Charlie the Charlatan sold harmful snake oil to sick commoners in the village of Hawkstone. Between then and now, the questions I'd be asking are any of the commoners' family members looking for Charlie still? If the commoners survive, did they actually mutate into something else? Are they out for vengeance? Is there someone in Hawkstone Charlie loves, but cannot see now that they are exiled from the town? Impossible for me to know what resonates with your players, but hopefully the work that you did in the carnival is leading the horse. Put names and faces to factions, villains, and allies, and merely suggest that these stories will eventually converge. Tomorrow problems. If a PC hasn't really glommed onto anything firm yet, throw something absolutely wild at them. Then their personal story becomes, okay, everyone else is seeing something deeply linked to their character. Why is this, of all things, being shown to me? The goal here, beyond keeping the world beyond the Feywild alive, is to suggest that at least some of the PC's backstories may be pursuing them into the Feywild, or at least moving energetically toward a place where these stories might converge. One of the macro goals of all of this adaptation work has an eye on the final chapters in the book. We are striving to define a few NPCs that have personal connections to your party so that we can reskin the League of Malevolence and Valor's Call into factions that matter to your players. This is, of course, in concert with the stock NPCs in Prismeer that also have the potential to become deeply meaningful to your players, so you don't have to do everything for everybody. Let's talk hag bargains. In fact, let's exploit the work that we have done so far to enhance the personal connection between PC and villain. If you're in Hither The party is about to meet Bavlorna and have their first taste of what it's like to make a deal with a hag to retrieve one of their lost things. Now, as written, Bavlorna's demands amount to a couple of fairly by-the-numbers errands. I think we can go deeper if we just use the prismatic flashes that we have employed thus far to create a secret or a clue about a PC that only Bavlorna knows. Players will do a lot to learn a personal secret, and if they are smart, they will do very little to play by a hag's rules. So we gotta dangle something truly tempting here. A strong hag bargain is for a piece of a PC's story they do not yet possess. Even if your party balks at dealing with Bavlorna at all and just defeats her in combat, I would bet that they will spare her life if they think a piece of their own story vanishes with her. To plant this idea, simply make Bavlorna aware of the present-facing flashes that the PCs experience in the waters of Hither before they have even met her. You can conclude any of the flashes with a glimpse of a bug-eyed, slack-jawed creature reflected in the water of the swamp tide. Noted, she croaks. As her image dissipates, you swear you can hear a low, self-satisfied chuckling. Now the players will believe Bavlorna when she claims she knows the lives of the party. Another permutation of this idea, if you're looking for more combat-oriented encounters in Hither, is to increase the interactivity of the present-facing flashes the closer the characters get to downfall. Let's say a PC is presented with a vision of a comrade or a loved one in peril at this moment somewhere far away. What if it were more than a vision? What if Bavlorna's voice burbled up mid-scrying and offered intervention for a price? Maybe you name the price on the spot. Maybe you let that sword dangle over the PC's head until their in-person meeting with Bav, but the hag bargain is simple and easy to understand. Save the NPC in peril for a price. If the PC agrees, Bavlorna manipulates the instability in the fabric of Prismir and magically rips the hostile enemy through the swamp water, through the plains themselves, and deposits them confused and frothing at the feet of the PC. Combat ensues, but most importantly, someone important to the PC was saved, and now Bavlorna believes the price is hers to define. This can be a great way to get more PCs in your party invested in Bavlorna, even if their lost things are not in her possession. But what if you do your job too well? What if a PC is presented with scenes that are so compelling that they begin to feel like an urgent personal quest, pulling them away from the Feywild? I would argue that is a great problem to have, and we are going to talk about how to execute it without derailing the written adventure in the next and final video in this series, covering Thither, Yon, Palace, and beyond. As a reminder, the PDF version of this adaptation guide is available for free on DM's Guild, along with a few other things I've published. The links are in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.